Hello, everybody, and welcome to our May episode.
Welcome, Hillary.
Thank you. Are you excited to be here tonight?
Nevermore.
And again, all the enthusiasm never ceases to amaze me.
Well, you cease to amaze me, Hillary.
Wow. So we have kind of a very special guest. Our guests are always special, but this one has a cool lineage.
Very cool. So, third generation
Farmer
vintner. And here's the really cool thing, which I don't think we've ever had on this podcast, nor has ever happened before in the history of winemaking. Our guest had a 100-point score. And his father also had the first 100-point score in all the lands from Robert Parker.
That's pretty incredible.
Very cool.
Well, everyone tune in for this very special episode with five very special and cool wines, and including a blind tasting where we show that we are not that knowledgeable, but we do it with finesse.
Lots of finesse. 911 has no idea about what they're doing with wine, but we sure love drinking it.
And we're good at the crime.
Thanks, Hill.
Bye. Hello, everybody, and we're back for another fabulous episode.
We are back. We're still fabulous.
That was convincing.
Every time. Expect no less from me, Hillary.
Oh, I don't. This is our baseline, and I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to introduce who's joining us
Love
today?
to introduce who's joining us. So, let's hit some of the high points here. He's been around, his family's been around Napa for a long time. He's a third generation vintner, farmer vintner. Let's see, has made some really amazing wines, a couple 100-pointers. His dad actually made the very first 100-point wine ever from Robert Parker.
Wow. His mentor was a past guest of ours.
Hugh Davies. Okay, very cool. He consults for some really amazing wineries, so 1111, Macaulay, Sky Devil, Honeycutt, B Cellars. Has worked at Mum Davies. Let's see, what else?
I think that's it.
That's the big stuff. Kirk Venge, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you. It's great to be here. Hopefully not all the rest of the clients are listening. Sorry, you guys. Didn't mention there. Apologize. Like a Renteria.
Trace Perilous.
Trace Perilous. Yeah. So another, Trespass. You mentioned Macaulay.
Yep.
There's Jack's as well. Honeycutt. I've got Implicit Wines and Promise Wines there. Nice. And then at B Cellars, I've got, like you mentioned, there's B Cellars, Sky Devil, Trace Perilous, and Baccio di Vino.
Nice. And
the Jansen family brand. And then 1111 Winery. And also at 1111, I'm making Mirror for Rick Meyer. So
very cool.
Those two are housed down there.
So quite a few to keep you busy.
You're not busy at all.
No, that's I think there's an even 12 right there, which is great. But who's counting? It's you find a way to make it work, and when it's what you love to do, it just happens. It just flows, and it's always that's the way with winemaking. It's always been that way for me since growing up on Rutherford Road. Back 1976. The valley's changed a lot, but not far from where your family's from, and Chris,
Well, that's what we love having folks on who have been around for a while, who have seen the valley change and provide some perspective, and especially on how the wine industry and the police log have shifted for the last few years.
Log shifted?
You're right. There's been no changes to the police log.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Quite similar from the old days, or the same days here.
So we have to start off the podcast by asking. You've obviously grown up here. You grew up in Rutherford. You went to St. Helena.
Went to St. Helena. Yeah, I went to Rutherford Schoolhouse. Back in the day, that was built like in 1880 or 1871 or something. But that's where I got my start. And then went through the schools in St. Helena. So St. Helena Elementary, followed by the RLS Middle School, and then of course St. Helena High.
Yeah. So no stranger to St. Helena crime. Not that you've ever been involved.
Have you made the police log before?
I didn't see myself, but in 2008 I was that's the old one today. I was well out of harm's way by then. It was I graduated in 1994, but I know during the time in St. Helena there were a few not me per se, but
colleagues?
It's with groups, call it groups, and you sometimes get wound up in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this was country. Keep country, So when guns go off at night and that kind of thing.
People
but
didn't care.
it's because you're excited or whatever. It's that's going to happen. But
especially in Rutherford.
It's all in good fun,
Rutherford's always been known for a little bit of a Rough Rider attitude, right? So, what are your first memories of growing up in Rutherford? And then, I'm sorry, then we'll get to the podcast, or they mean the
crime.
The crime hill.
Oh, crime. The growing up in Rutherford was that there was no other kids to play with. That was the number one thing I remember about Rutherford. I think it's a town of 180 people back then. I think it's about 200 now, something like that.
A lot. Yep.
I grew up, just down from, everybody knows Rutherford Grill and the La Luna Market, but well before that, Rutherford Grill was over there. It was just a mound of dirt, but I thought it was pretty cool, right? Seeing Eleanor Coppola would drop Sophia off, and we'd all take the bus to school together. And and now look how successful the family's always been. But she's doing her thing, and that was But growing up in Rutherford was really, really quiet. And then thankfully there were enough irrigation ponds to go fish in that you could waste away your day. But just don't get punctured riding your bicycle tires. You learn things.
I second all of that.
That I even know growing up in St. Helena.
Yeah.
Which probably other kids don't realize, but
a very urban.
I have definite memories of the puncture rides in my
You're
tires.
You're stuck. You're out of committee. You're walking. You're walking.
And then there'd be the green goo they'd put in the tires.
Well, we didn't have that back
to
then.
try to prevent it.
You could go buy your bike from Jake Scheidemann. Jake sold everyone their first bike.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
And it sold.
I heard.
Oh,
that's the latest.
St. Helena Cycle is no more.
St. Helena. Well, I think it's going to continue as a bike shop, but I think a new owner.
Yeah, Jake is going to go on vacation forever now.
Forever.
I
Good
would
for him.
too.
Yeah, he's earned
That's what I try to do all the time, but
How's that working out?
not great.
No?
Not great. I work a lot more than I vacation.
No, that's the wrong way. Wrong way about this.
Do you want to share what wine we started off the evening with?
So you guys, I brought over to kick it off was the latest thing. It started with the white wine. This is a Venge wine, the only one of two Venge wines. So we're going to bookend with Venge wines today.
Nice.
So the this is the 21 Sauvignon Blanc. It's Sauvignon Musqué clone of the varietal, and it's from over in Dutton Ranch. It's the Jewel Dutton Ranch over in Russian River Valley, out of Grayton. So the little sleepier town than Rutherford. Well, no, it's probably got more people than Rutherford, but
still sleepy.
Yeah, so Russian River, Sauv Blanc. These are older vines. I love working with this fruit, and every wine that we're going to go through today has some kind of a meaning. I brought things that I thought kind of meant something, and this one I think speaks to what's going on today. Although it's April the 20th, 420. Happy 420, you guys.
Cheers to that.
So there's a couple of prior to these rains that we're having right now, it's been a drought. We've been and we saw that very, very much in the vineyards in 2021, and so this vineyard typically grows a big prolific crop, and it sets 4 or 5 tons to the acre like Sauvignon Blanc does. And in 2021, I think they put out maybe 1.5 tons per acre in this vineyard. And that was entirely due to drought. So, but I think you guys maybe agree that the nose is very expressive, a lot of tropical, a lot of fresh pineapple and fresh fruit, something I just love in the varietal that I haven't seen until 21. And this is just to show how yields affect wine quality, of course, and we always talk about that. But when Mother Nature does it for you in frost years, drought years, we have incredible wines. And so that kind of kicked off some of the other wines that we're going to have too today.
Yay.
So with varietals or vintages that were drought years. Yep. So anyway, but I think probably the nicest Sauv Blanc that I've made is this 2021.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, just as soon as you poured that, man, it was like instant, just that smell in the nose and the really deep, concentrated flavors and smells that come out of there were not what I was expecting from a Sauvignon Blanc. It's really cool.
So, well, thank you.
Nicely done.
So this is like like an economics-y question. So you get less wine with these drought years, but the wine sometimes, for argument's sake, turns out better.
Yeah.
So is it better to have these smaller productions of the better wine or the bigger productions of the still great wine but not as amazing?
That's a good balancing act because it depends. I think it depends on the producer who you're going to ask. At Venge, of course, we strive for balance more than anything because you can go cut all the fruit off of a grapevine that you want. But the real, and that's us doing it ourselves at what point in time in the vine's life we think is the most appropriate. Okay, but if a grapevine, if nature again can do it for you, whether it's frost or it's drought or it's just, kind of the nature of the season, that's always seemingly the perfect time for this sort of thing. Now, if we go and cut all the fruit off, a grower who, has all these same inputs, whether they, it just depends on how you're buying the fruit. What's your agreement? Is it by the acre? Then you're welcome to go do whatever you like in most cases, right? And as long as you're not sending them out every week to go touch a plant. But in traditional, let's say, agreements, we were paying for the fruit by the ton, and what comes in comes in. The grower knows to do a balanced job. I'm there to supervise that and make sure that it happens. But at the end of the day, they're still going to high five if they can get, pretty good, decent tonnage. I'm going to feel good if I think that I did made all the necessary calls to get to the endpoint result. We always start with this framework of where it's supposed to end up. And it's all the decisions in wine growing and wine making that finally get us there. So, but the best vintages will of course make themselves. They're set up just perfectly. We really don't have to touch much of anything in the vineyard or in the winery. Yeah. That's kind of the philosophy that a lot of us share. A lot of my peers and I all look at it the same.
So do you think you make your money in the good years or in the hard years when it's like maybe a little more challenging? As a
winemaker and a consultant winemaker, I think it's going to be in the challenging years, of course, because now we have to get creative with outside vintage blending. The before and after vintages of that year. It's how to and you just kind of got to adjust and adapt to what you've been given. Let's look at vintages like 2011, the rain year. That was no fun. Yeah. And then you have scorching hot vintages or early years, and the drought years. Like when we 15. Get into but look at how nicely those have turned out. 13, 14,
everyone's
15.
raving about these 11s now, and they've really come around.
Those have kind of come around. Absolutely. I was never a fan of the vintage though. I like October to hang fruit, not have rain every single day. And in a vineyard, let's talk something that's famous that everybody has heard of, like a Tokalon vineyard. We didn't really ripen past 23 and a half bricks. Now, what's wrong with that? Probably nothing, but we didn't really get the hang time. Yeah. They did all of that in September, and then it rained, and now we're combating mildew, pressure, aspergillus molds, and that kind of thing. So it's so those are the hard ones. Those are the pains. Yeah. But you do work to craft the best that you possibly can. Smoke vintages, that's not so far behind us right now. And that, there's not really much you can do about that. You just kind of have to pull the cord and let those go.
Did you guys drop a lot of what you'd planned?
Yeah, we sure did. So we made about, it's easy to remember, in 2020, we made 20% of a normal year. Most of that being white wines and rosés that we were able to press off of the skin. So so many cabs, and I did go out and give it a try to pick my own estate fruit and ended up just giving it away. I think all told, the vineyards that we did try, we ended up giving away 85 barrels of Napa Cabernet from varieties of vineyards, and with the hope that something would turn out, but it didn't. So. But we do have wines to bottle. It's not all for naught. There were some vineyards that turned out okay, especially the further north that you are. We had fires predominantly in Russian River Valley and up in Atlas Peak and Pritchard Hill and those neighborhoods, and over in Pope Valley, of course. But that wasn't affecting Calistoga so much, where we're based at Venge. So that we were kind of out of it. But that was great for Zinfandel growing up there. I work a lot with the Fredianis and the Levisis up there, and some other growers in Calistoga. That ripened in September, and we were able to get that off. But by the 29th, I think it was, of September, the glass fire started. Anything post that date was completely lost. Yeah. So, and that was a lot of really, those big wines, those deep cabs that need that deep hang time which is the right thing grown on the right spot. It gets the time that it needs, but we did have to throw it in. Anyway.
Do you have some crime to lead us off?
Sure. Let's see what we can find here.
Okay.
Speaking of, well, let's see.
Speaking of something totally different.
Something different. My transitions there are terrible. This is fun. So there's on Friday, February the 4th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, report of a rooster in a coop in Madrona Avenue. Code enforcement notified. Thank you. Oh, here's another animal one. Same day, 1401, all the animal questions come out. Report of a medium-sized dog roaming Miley Park off-leash and chasing squirrels.
Pet thing going. Well, these are not pets, but police are aware of coyote sightings at Miley Park.
Thank God.
They're aware. That's all.
Well,
Stop calling. They know.
Good times. Here's, can I jump in here with one?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a black Honda. A suspicious couple in a black Honda. So they were trying to sell jewelry for gas money. The vehicle was last seen on Allen Avenue. Now, you'd ask yourself, okay, well, it's a couple. Maybe they, that was all the trading that they had. I mean, maybe. we would just hand out bottles of wine probably for gas money or something like that, or pruning shears. But this how are you gonna you gotta just do what you can. I think that's more resourceful than anything. But why they had to call the police? That's Santa Lena.
Gas prices have gone up.
And the gas prices have shot right up.
That really brings me to the perfect segue for the 1st of February at 2 o'clock, where a suspicious man approached a vehicle on Grayson Avenue and asked for drugs or a ride to Clear Lake. He left after being denied. So,
he's
drugs or a ride.
That's like shoulder tapping in high school.
Did he clarify what type of drugs he was looking for?
He was going to Clear Lake, so guess on your own.
Yeah, he missed it by one county there.
Well, I think if he got the drugs, he didn't need to go to Clear Lake.
I let you make your own decision.
Yeah. Happy 420, Chris. That's, a lot of these are...
We don't have any subscribers from Lake County. It's okay.
No.
I don't think they have
downloading
iPhones up there anyway. So.
It's not the... Vineyard's not the agriculture of choice. Probably... I think some of these are kind of connected. You've got, you just imagine on the same day, some of these have to be the same thing. So, here's it around noon, an aggressive driver is flipping someone off on Main Street, okay? And so that just, that means things are starting to ramp up a little bit. And then, at... this is about 9 o'clock, strong burning chemical smell. And no wonder what that is. On Andrea Avenue, it turned out to be the result of smoke from multiple burn piles. Well, that was like the football team in high school. They would have like a huddle, And then the same kind of thing kind of connects these dots. Here's medical aid for a child having difficult breathing on Hunt Avenue. Was that really a child, or was it just someone who couldn't talk? So I think these are connected to some degree.
It is. That's a really good
same
point.
Day.
Very good point.
Man.
So you've got to have some good stories from high school then. Like there's got to be shenanigans. You were on you played football?
I didn't. I was on. I did basketball and track.
Okay.
Yeah, I did basketball and track.
Cool.
And in mainly what we would do on weekends is very what you would expect in rural St. Helena. So it's find which buddy has a vineyard, which most of us, kind of did. It was Jack Oliver, Toby Forman, myself. There were a couple, Alexis Brown. That was where we'd always go. But we would do, we'd collect anything you could, whether it was broken grape stakes or pallets or whatever you could get your hands on. Inevitably you'd raid your parents' wine cellar. Anything with more than 6 bottles in the little diamond-shaped cubby was fair game. So grab one, and you will never get caught. You're actually doing a favor. There's more space now to keep hoarding wine, which they all would do. And so we'd grab, we were drinking wines like you wouldn't believe back then. We had no idea. Well, we did somewhat. You'd stay away from the Opus One or the Beringer Reserves and these kinds of things. But you would you'd dig right into, Stag's Leap, 20-year-old Petite Syrahs and that for sure. But we would have bonfires. That was the thing. Every single weekend it would just revolve. And every 6 weeks it would be back to, my father's vineyard at Saddleback or something like that. Or we'd go to Star, Jack Oliver, or Forman and Thorvilos up on base of Hell Mountain there. So we were, but that never led to much trouble except for whoever owned the property. So, grape stakes would get run into and in the mornings or drug out. It was... But those were the good times. The only thing that we would get, ever caught, it was usually the racing kind of thing on Skellinger and in front of backstop with George III and I remember we once got caught by Tuck. It was in high school. There were Tuck backstopper who's a friend and Andy, of course. I do a lot of business with Andy, and he's a dear friend. But we would go as fast as we could to hit the puddles on Skellinger and just laugh our asses off. And it's amazing no one flipped a car or worse. But and I don't think we broke anything. But it just made a mess. But that would bring police for sure. And then the other thing was just on Vallejo Street. It was just nothing but potholes. Yeah. And so for the same reason, after a good rain, it was just so much fun to see how big the splashes was. But there was always one old man that would stand, and I can't remember his name, but there was always one guy.
Well, the Butalas.
What's that?
I can imagine one of the Butalas being
it was right at the S turn. So one of the things to do on Vallejo Street by the high school was to get through without getting caught. That was the kind of it sounds so stupid right now, and I can't believe we're talking about it, but this was really, really a challenge, and it would happen all the time after school, after a rain, of course. And
it's raining right now.
Hey, but you know what? There's been a lot of improvements. It's gentrified on the west side of town now. That it was always the case, kind of closer to Sylvaner, but it was never north, in the northern parts. But that was kind of the thing, and because everybody drove 4x4s. I had my Jeep, and Jack Oliver had his Jeep. Toby Forman always had the biggest thing that he could build, and Chris Cottrell had a Scout. We had a great time, and. In Hillary, we all played for your dad's basketball team. We were all, Blue Devils at the RLS playing hoops. Remember his first year, and that was before your mom and dad were married too. So before you were even born.
I did hear a story
back in time.
You actually met Hillary like day 1 or 2. I think she was born.
I think it was. Remember we came to visit in Calistoga. I can remember the day. And I was playing with you always had German Shepherds in the backyard. This is memory lane coming back. But I remember my mother and I, Candy, we came to visit and see baby Hillary.
I'm so sorry I don't remember this.
You don't. You were like literally days out of the hospital. But yeah, I was there for Hillary's first days. But that's what you do when you play basketball.
I'm sure she was equally fabulous then as she is today.
Yes, very much so. Didn't know quite so many fancy medical words, but she was.
She still whined as much, I'm sure.
Yeah. Speaking of wine,
that was my
drink.
What's our next?
All right, so I'm gonna do something with you two right now. And so we've got our left glass, right glass, okay? Okay. I'm going to pour this in our left glass. So here you go.
So these bottles are covered in tin foil. So we don't know what's coming.
This is a blind tasting.
We know that it's red.
Hillary and Chris. And this is going to be kind of neat. And every wine here has a story. So with kind of why it was pulled from the cellar today. So, okay, let's go ahead and keep going here. Cool. And give these a whirl. All right, no dead air, right? So here, we'll keep talking. Keep talking.
Well, I noticed a color difference first off.
Okay. Yes.
That's as far as I've got.
So, all right. Let's these two. All right, I'll give you a hint. These are Cabernets. Okay. Cool. These are Cabs. And let's want to hear. Let's hear some. I did not make these, so you can be as brutally honest as you'd absolutely like.
I like the smell of left a lot better than right.
Always start with left.
I don't like the smell of right.
You don't like the smell of the right one.
No.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
It's too moldy.
Oh, is it musty for you? Okay. Okay.
That's the correct wine term.
Brutally honest, Hillary.
Yeah,
I didn't
go
say
Hillary.
it's going to taste
Go
bad. I
Hillary.
just said the smell is not my
Well,
favorite.
Okay.
But I've smelt a lot of things that have not been my favorite, and then they turn out pretty cool.
You work in the medical field. Nothing
Exactly.
you smell is great. Well, I can definitely tell they're both but older wines.
Yeah. What you have a vintage
A
guess?
little,
Do you have a guess?
A little really nice stewed fruit. Color difference.
Mm-hmm.
A little more darker brown on the left one. Well, no.
I think
Actually,
left
the right
is-
one's darker. Right one's darker.
Right one could be a little bit darker. You're right.
The
You're
left
right,
one
Chris.
has more brown hues. This one is like a more red-blue too hue,
Okay.
where this is like an orange-red.
Mm-hmm.
That's my lipstick knowledge
I'm gonna-
coming out.
Okay.
But both have nice mouthfeels.
Great,
They've got a lot of structure up front, kind of in that first third of the palate.
Yep.
You know, going into the middle.
But I like the
good
taste
length.
better of right.
Okay, you do like the taste better
I like
of
the
right.
taste better.
Okay.
I think the fruit's shining through a little bit more for me on the left.
Yeah.
The nose on both of them are really, really beautiful though.
Is right older?
Okay.
I'm gonna make a guess on vintage.
Go please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say these are late '90s or early 2000s, like 2001 or 2, or '97. So it's somewhere there. It's not 98.
Okay.
98 was a rough year, but '97 was a really good year. So I'm gonna say it's either '97 or 2001.
Okay.
They're cabs, probably from. One's from Oakville, and I think one's from more like Calistoga area, more the north. And I'm going to say the Oakville one.
All right. Well, okay.
He's like, you've completely
we're all over the
stop
board
you.
with that. Okay. So let me start. Okay. So we just okay. So one of the mentors that I always looked up to quite a bit as kind of a second father was Rick Forman, owner of Forman Vineyards. He was very French influenced. He went to UC Davis, graduated just a year before my father did, but they were good friends at Davis. And but Rick always had a flair for Bordeaux. Okay, so the first wine that I brought, so out of homage to where you're from,
No way.
this is the Forman
Cool.
15.
Oh.
Okay, so a
beautiful.
15. Now
That's
talking,
a 15. That tastes way older than 15.
Wow.
I mean,
I've kept it in my cellar. It came right from his cellar to my cellar.
In a good way. I mean, it's very well aged, balanced.
I think for California speak, this is the third year of the drought.
Okay.
Fourth year of the drought, excuse me. So there's 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Yeah.
Fourth year of the drought. So we're kind of going back to where we started with the 2021 Sauvignon, the drought vintages.
Cool.
These vintages have this kind of a prolific, they're brooding fruit. I was curious to just do a quick check in a vintage chart. Spectator gave both. Okay, so gave the 15 vintage overall. Mm-hmm. It was a 94. So a good, class, not the uber classic, but it's right up there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so much worse. Okay, the second wine I brought for you guys is my favorite producer of Bordeaux. This is Pichon Lalande, also out of Pauillac. This is a 2015. Mm-hmm. Same year. Both are, of course, obviously, the Bordeaux is French inspired. That's just where it belongs and where it's from. But Rick Forman is very much a classical winemaker of Napa Valley who holds the line on finesse and structure and ageability in his wines. I think both of these will go another 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
without question. But let them open up a little bit too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite producer out of Bordeaux, Pichon, always I love drinking, back in the wines from the 70s, the 90s. 91 was a standout, 08. Great producer. Just
And the Bordeaux was in the right glass then, correct?
it was.
Yes.
Okay.
That was
I
so
can-
when you're tasting, it was a little mustier. That's Brettanomyces. So, this is more of these cellar aromatics of
Okay.
kind of. They can be all over the place, but from Band-Aid to wet wool to foxiness, that kind of thing, and that's a wild yeast that.
I definitely got the Band-Aid.
Okay. That's
rubber.
part of the, kind of the
But it smells even better
thumbprint
now.
of French wines in many cases, but is that kind of aromatic and that piece that lends itself to these wines, which are traditionally not such fruit-forward wines like California. We have so much sunshine here that transfers right into these lush and ripe and rich fruit profiles. But in Bordeaux, it's a cooler climate. Of course, it's more like the Oregon, appellations for everybody trying to compare things. That you see rain and overcast and it's cold and
Nice. And that's made also in probably a very small quantity. And what is?
I would say this is a bit of a larger
That's okay.
producer. They're well known. How many cases they make of this, one would not know. But boy, is it nice visiting. And they're right next to Chateau Latour and
Cool.
Pichon Baronne, and it's this is hallowed ground.
That's awesome.
For wine production. It's beautiful there.
Well, it's always fascinating to try something blind and then realize how completely far off I can be. I mean, it's just really appreciate someone who knows enough to get it right. That's amazing.
Wow.
Because it's, I mean, just the amount of nuance to these wines and to be knowledgeable enough to get where those tastes are coming from and be able to explain that. It's really, really fascinating. And that's something
I will.
we haven't gotten on 911 quite yet.
I don't. Yeah. We'll never get it from me. So.
Well,
I'm
it's
realistic.
yeah, but it's to be enjoyed. I mean, it's for reading police logs when you have nothing else going on. This is what wine's all about.
Well, that's a hell of a treat. Thanks, Kirk.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But both are estate. They're 100% picked off the lands which they own, and I tip my hat to Rick and drinking his 2015.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you worked with Rick on...
We've
Before,
never, growing up, I was there with his son Toby, my best friend, and we were there together constantly.
Nice.
And that was kind of the place where, as boys we would go. Either especially once we got cars, or even before that, though, we'd just ride motorcycles all weekend or what have you. And so you spend that much quality time, and then every year we'd take a trip to the Sierras to Salmon Lake, and Dave Abreu would bring his family, and or the Landises, Mike Landis would bring his family. So there was a good group of them. Cheryl and Joey, Charlie and Jenny grew up with them. We'd spend a week a year every year, and that happened I think for 8 years in a row up at Salmon Lake in Northern Sierra, and it was wonderful in the Gold Lakes area.
Yeah.
And we were hiking every day, and so you spend that much time. It immerses in you. And one thing that he told me was, you don't have to make a lot of wine. Make one barrel, he said, but leave nothing on the table. Buy the best fruit you can get. Make it with as much talent as you think you possess. Buy a new oak barrel. Just do whatever it takes. You do not have to go running for mass production. He was always keep it small and build on what your first steps out the gate. And I try to tell this to people that look to me for any kind of advice. Is how did you get your start and where did you come from doing this? And it's all about that first step into the wine business is such a key and critical one. And I think now it's more important than ever. You look at the competition. There are so many. I have so many peers, versus when my father was starting out. There was Justin Meyer and like Sequoia Grove, Silver Oak, Rick Forman, and then there are larger Behringer and those. Of course, and it goes on and on and on. But there weren't. You could hit every winery when I was 4 years old in 2 or 3 days. You could be up and down Highway 29 and see everyone, right? Yeah. And today, with 600 wineries and 2,000 brands,
It's an adventure.
You're gonna spend a lot of time weeding yourself through the woods, and how do you do this? So it's for young people getting their start. God bless them, but it's how do you get that first kick out the door?
Nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of first kicks out the door, when you were when your dad was working at Groth, he was the winemaker at Groth?
He was, yeah. He was and Dennis Groth has a birthday coming up. He's 80.
Cool.
Here in a couple weeks. But yeah, but my dad was the first winemaker at Groth. Before that, he was at Mount Eden, which is where Plump Jack Winery is today. So, and then Saddleback is one property to the west of Groth. So he went from where Plump Jack is today, which is Mount Eden, and then he moves one bump to the west with Groth. It was 71 to 81 at Mount Eden, Plump Jack, or Mount Eden back in the day. And then Groth from 81 to 94, and Saddleback started in 84, but one property, just west on Money Road. So
that's awesome. And I know so just for people's knowledge on that, I mean, that was the very first 100-point score given by Robert Parker ever, and that was kind of what started this new cult wine kind of craze, right? I mean, that was the start of it.
Okay, so what Robert Parker created was nothing short of a miracle with how successful of a critic, and a claim of anything that could be criticized, right? That's what is best known for Robert Parker for, is whether it be art or any jewelry or exhibits or whatever. He was the best critic of anything, vehicles or whatever. He had but his subject matter, of course, was wine, and the way he talked about it was very luring. When this is back in the days, but when you would get a 90+ score from Robert Parker, your fax machine would run out of ink. This is how long ago that was. Today, the bar has risen quite a bit higher. If you are short of a 97, then it might be sleepy time. You better take that. It's still a great score, don't get me wrong, but and I hate to talk about scores too much, but since we're on the topic of hundreds, but you'd take that and run as hard as you can with it, and it's mostly in the retail sector. I think right now, so many, the viticulture has improved 1,000-fold. The winemaking's improved so much. There's more technology with how we make wine, and there's just more understanding of the art that goes into it. So, but what's interesting now too, though, is Robert Parker defined a style that has been weaning away over the last probably 4 years or so. Yeah. This kind of big brooding, broad stance California Cabernet is becoming more restrained. And I think, and again, tip my hat to Rick Forman, he never left that position from his days at Sterling Winery to Newton to doing his own thing. So he's always held restraint as the forefront of the wine. Lower in bricks, lower in alcohol, although he's constantly kicking himself when he's like, it ripened up past 26, and that's kind of the hopping off place for a lot of us who were more of the late 90s Parker era, or the early 2000s.
So how do you think your dad's influenced by being at Groth and doing that, and then like Rick and Hugh Davies, how'd that influence your style, and kind of where is that on the spectrum?
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of wine. I mean, I picked up nuances of how wine was made and more about wine growing from my father, because we did things more old-fashioned. He did not have an army of men and women to grow grapes and make wine. It was basically himself, and unfortunately his body is suffering for it like crazy right now, but that's a different, but he always did it with a huge smile on his face, and he still makes wine today, except he's much more hands-off. But my early days were riding the tractor, because he did all of his own mowing, disking, and sprays. And, that's where I learned I was so allergic to sulfur dust, like my head would explode, because you'd go to work with your dad, and so you can't just leave a 4-year-old wandering the wine cellar and when they're 4 years old. So you got to sit up on the tractor, which I thought was the coolest thing, and you're going to you're going to spray, the vineyard, which he was completely immune to. He could do it without anything that we would wear today. But my face would explode. I've still to this day, I've only sulfured once in my life because it's so awful for me.
Yeah, it's like my dad. He's like tough as woodpecker lips, man. He just would go out there.
Oh, yeah.
He'll wear like a little tiny mask and some goggles, and that's it. And I have to be in a full face thing, otherwise I cry for 2 days.
And you did it because you had to.
Yeah.
Saddleback's 17 acres, and there was no one else doing it for you. So but you would sulfur dust 4 times a year and put the tractor away, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And you're growing Cabernet Sauvignon. But and it was all dry farmed as well. In Oakville, you could do that.
Is he still dry farm it?
Yes.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's Cab on St. George,
Wow.
and it's all dry farmed. Even the whites, after year 3, the coyotes have eaten the irrigation so badly that it just ceases to exist. So you're done.
Well, that's what I appreciate. Everything you have, you appreciate the old vines, you appreciate the history, and that's pretty cool. So.
Well, speaking of the way they used to do things, and they do things now, I have a fun next door.
Oh,
good. Good, Hillary. You've been waiting for
I've
this.
been waiting. So we used to use smudge pots. There's actually one in my front yard. If you guys want to bring it back, I've got one. You can
If we need an extra?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah.
It's decor, but you're welcome to it. So this is talking about frost.
Oh, yeah.
So the original post. So I mean, you guys both work vineyards. You understand that frost can be detrimental, and we have to do things to avoid it. So the post is anticipating people may have questions about the vineyard fans and sprinkler watering of grapevines. I reached out to Napa County Farm Bureau to get information about the reasons fans are used for air circulation and how overhead watering protects vines from the frost and mildew during the bud break.
And that's from John Dunbar, who's running for supervisor, right?
And then he provided like the little handbook,
So
like
very
a
nice.
guide, which I think is super interesting if you haven't like grown up here. Because I totally remember growing up, and for some reason when we'd hear the wind things, it was like, okay, it's gonna be cold tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's it.
So
The wind thing.
there are, that's my technical term, the wind thing.
Yeah.
So there's 123 comments to this post.
Lord
So
Wow.
people got very excited. Some people were very upset about them being woke up during the night. Some were like, you live in a farm area. The right to farm bill act, I don't know what legislation that was brought up a lot on how when you live here and you buy a house,
Yeah, it goes
you
back
have to deal with
decades.
it.
Yeah, the right to
So-
farm goes.
Yeah.
So there's some gold
Yeah,
nuggets in
so
here.
Chris, I'll have you. There's a
I would
picture of
love to
old
read one.
smudge pots, the alternative.
Fun.
I'm finding one of the best. Here's the best
Oh my God, this is my
response
favorite.
we
I
have.
read this earlier. So,
Now, for your listeners, does everybody know what a smudge pot is and does?
They may not.
Chris,
You wanna-
enlighten. Do you want to?
so sure, a smudge pot was where we used to get rid of all our old motor oil, and it's a big metal contraption that looks like a
Like a mushroom, but
like
upside
an
down.
upside down
right?
mushroom,
Okay.
yeah, like a bowling
Like a
ball, like a
chimney.
bowling pin, right? And it's got a big bottom
Yeah.
section which has all the gas and diesel, and you light it on fire. And it's got all these vents in it, and it turns into this candle, which basically helps heat the air and heat the vines, and then the wind machines blow the air around, and everyone's happy. So now they work really well for yard art in Hillary's house.
Antique art.
Yeah. So anyway, moral of the story is we don't have those so much anymore. But this one individual had something to say about vineyards and frost protection. Here we go. To be perfectly candid with everyone here, it would be so easy to sue the vineyards. There is an enormous amount of research out there about health factors concerning lack of sleep. People should do a class action suit against the vineyards using these fans. I'm having a hard time keeping it together here.
Come on.
I'm just saying, if they're not careful, people could bring a suit against them, and that would be awful. I suggest that some people at the vineyards all around the country that are using these fans come up with something better. Put the money into research and get the job done right to avoid unnecessary problems that should and could have been avoided in the first place. If I were an owner to one of these vineyards, I would be pretty mad about this outcome because it could have been avoided in the first place with some good sense and further research.
I think this is a reason why she's not an owner.
I think so. So anyway, vineyard owners beware.
not owners. In the comments, then it goes on
Yeah.
to say she doesn't want to sue the people, just the vineyard.
Just the vineyard.
Just the vineyard.
Yeah. So don't worry, you are safe, but your vineyard may get
she
sued.
should have a conversation with God too, because that's a necessity to turn off the cold, and we won't have these.
I think that's
we
where
won't have
she
the wind
needs to
machines.
start.
Yeah.
It's not only the fans, but the very loud water pumps that grind into action at the middle of the night to irrigate vineyards. Parentheses. Water releases a little heat as it freezes, so vineyardists use irrigation for frost protection for their grapes. I live on Carringer Road in Sonoma Valley for many years before the extensive vineyard plantings, and the big pumps would always wake us up during the frost season. Ugh. What a first world problem. I am so sorry, citizens of Napa.
Yeah.
These aren't even these are Napa first world 1% problems.
I mean, I love my sleep. Sleep is like top 3 favorite activities of mine. There's these magical things called earplugs and noise machines, and your phones that you're commenting on next door with. You can get a little sleep app, which also has noises. Just some healthy medical recommendations.
I love it. These are anyway. It's a great way to waste an hour looking through this and shaking your head.
Yeah.
There's some people in support of it, and it's just amazing how a little simple educational post can turn into rapid fire.
This is fun. Someone else from Linda Vista, not even from here. Everyone who moves to Napa should be warned that vineyards make the worst neighbors. They care little about you and all about their profits. Their profits allow them to be politically active and have one-sided laws passed like the Right to Farm Act. You have more protection if you're inside the city limits, but the Napa police can't protect you from abuse by vineyards on city borders.
Yes.
Humanity.
That's
the worst neighbors.
Yeah.
Which is funny because thinking back to COVID, and we're all like, we gotta save the vineyards. Like that's our entire profit. That's our entire economy. 5 nights lack of sleep for our entire economy. I mean, in my opinion, is worth it.
Well, guess where everyone wanted to move during COVID? We need to move to the country.
Right.
Oh, there's vineyards. This is perfect. There's no one here.
It's so beautiful.
There's sulfur and noise in the morning. I can't handle.
Yeah. I've got allergies.
Don't even get me started.
Without these, our industry revolves around a berry here. Our valley revolves around a berry. It's what brings people here. Whether you're a shop on Main Street, Santa Helena, Napa, Calistoga, Yountville, whatever, or a hotel. Look at how well those are doing right now. Look at and the restaurants are filling up. So, and wineries are filling up. And you look at what that industry, it all revolves around this berry. If it goes in frosts and there's, you're not going to kill this industry, people, but it's, agriculture, when you surround it, it's like wildlife, in a sense. You move in, but this wildlife isn't going anywhere. It's not on 4 feet or what have you and leaving. It's.
And, I think a lot of these folks maybe just spouting off, but if they really think about it, or maybe just a little education would help. But the alternative is the place looks like Orange Valley or Silicon Valley. Where you had all the orange farms ripped out,
Orange
for houses,
County,
and everyone can
Anaheim,
be with neighbors right next to them. So I think we're pretty lucky to have a little bit of
the jackrabbits
agricultural space, some jackrabbits, a little bit of noise, a little bit of sulfur dust. But hey, it beats the alternative.
Yeah, that same neighbor is walking their dog right through your vineyard row, and
and loving it, and happy that they have some space.
Thankful that little Henry off the leash can go rip around for a half an hour.
As long as he's not into the coyotes from Miley Park, he'll be all right.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, that was fun. Thank you for bringing that up.
Next door, I say this, I think every episode keeps me very entertained.
It does.
Like if I'm ever having a rough day at work, I just pull up next door and I'm like, you know what? My life is pretty good. Like I don't have enough time to do this every day.
Oh,
So let me hear more about Venge Vineyards. So tell us about your latest projects and what's exciting for you.
Okay. So through County of Napa and our system, we just got approval for a bond expansion, meaning we have the ability to make more wine now, and that's a great thing because we've had the need to grow and with the times and where we are today. So that's probably the newest thing but I've also got a vineyard and winery over in Sonoma County. So we'll separate over to Sonoma. It's called Croix Estate, where I make predominantly Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. We have 4 Chardonnays, all vineyard designates. We've got and Pinot Noir from 5 wonderful, Platte Vineyard, Bach Chigulipe, the Dutton Ranches as well, Ritchie, We've got, and then same with Chardonnay, Morelli Lane, and there's beautiful fruit from these kind of, far out places. And this has offered a whole new exciting world. This is, Cabernet and Merlot, you can call it Bordeaux varietals out of Napa Valley is what I cut my teeth on. That's what most of us here that grew up here are doing, and so having the opportunity to, kind of lift the curtain on this theater of wine grape growing, and it's almost a hunt, for the neatest place where that grapevine grows. It was once, and maybe more conservative tree happy folks won't like this, but where, a hillside of forest once lived that has been carved out cleverly and creatively, or it was taken from a pasture land, is now into a vineyard that produces incredible fruit. And then, seekers of this sort of thing go clamor for it. And it's just, the neighborhoods of Occidental and Grayton, Sebastopol, Fort Ross Seaview, where I was today, it's a couple hours to get there. Just have the most amazing little treasures of finding these things that you can possibly get your hands on, which is neat. And then you just anticipate, it's part of, again, this framework of where you're going to end up, and you can imagine from this site what you think you can make, but it's the trial and error that hooks us back, as passionate winemakers for this job. That's the thing that it's a seasonal, and you ask most of us what we love about winemaking. It's the seasonality of this job. It's the season. It's every year comes with a new set of rules and a whole new play. A whole new set of plays to go by. And it's and just like a sports team. You cobble together all of your different vineyards and pieces, and with this idea in mind, and it just takes a long time in some people's minds. That 2 years, year and a half for, let's say it's Pinot Noir, Chardonnay for us, over to 2 to 2.5 years for making Bordeaux Reds, and it's just that anticipation and what you can get, and it's from these unique sites that you get unique wines. It's what's in that soil. Today I was standing in 2 to 3 million year old gold rich soil versus, if you're in Grayton, you're in 4 to 5 million year old gold rich soil. I'm geeking out here, and I hope I'm not boring anybody, but that's the kind of findings that's interesting stuff, and I want to get my hands on this, and it's like, okay, you've got 5 more tons. Let me just think about which of my clients could use a Pinot Noir, another one in their program, because I think, I want to have this. You get greedy a little bit as well, and the nice thing about having a client base is that you can experiment and explore and enjoy several seasons in one. My life would be a very small thing of winemaking, very focused, very small, and there's nothing wrong with that, but to have bandwidth to go out and consume these different pieces of what's going on is fantastic. These different, working with incredible growers like the Richies, the Dutton Ranches, and some of the beautiful sites that they have. I've got vineyards out in Occidental that are just incredible. Beyond words, it's hard to describe.
If you had to pick one place that you would want to make, if you could only make wine from one AVA or sub-AVA, what would it be? Like if you could pick...
In California? If there was
California.
The last... If my appellation was an island forever?
Yes.
What would it be? It's tough.
In California.
Yeah.
Well, you can pick a local and...
Thank you.
One near and one far?
Yes.
Thank you for adjusting the rules.
That's
You're
cool.
welcome.
Okay, one near and one far. Okay.
Because when people always say, where's your favorite place to travel? Okay, in the States or abroad.
Okay.
You need one of each.
This is that makes things easier. So Oakville for cab making is our mecca. Oakville is the spot, and that's I'm not alone on this. This is where our best
I think we've
efforts.
heard this answer before.
I think you have. This is where our best efforts are.
Specifically, which vineyard in Oakville would you say?
Come to fruition.
East or west?
Mine's on.
Tokalon.
Tokalon is up there, but Missouri Hopper.
Okay.
Beckstoffer Missouri Hopper is my If I could pare it down from the appellation to just one plot. Now, surrounding Missouri Hopper vineyards that I don't have my hands on. There's Vine Hill Ranch. There's the Harlan Estate up the mountain, and all of that would be just epic. But for me, Missouri Hopper is what runs a lot of what I do at Venge is that one particular spot. Okay, so that's Cabernet making in Oakville, predominantly.
So
Missouri
now you're
Hopper.
away.
Or Oakville Ranch. Now, so there's one on the valley and one on the hill. So Oakville Ranch up by Napa Valley, and below Pritchard Hill, let's say, and Ovid. It's just God's country, So so those are the two. Vineyards I would put in my backpack. And then I'm going to Central Otago, New Zealand after that.
Wow. Oh,
Okay,
cool.
good answer.
Yes.
Very cool.
This is the
Sauvignon
place. No, that's in Blenheim. That's in Marlborough. Okay. So, but Central Otago, New Zealand is Pinot Noir. It's the southernmost place that grapes are grown. Southernmost place on our planet. But what you get there, they have a lot of sunshine. It's a very cool area, but they have a lot of sun. There's holes in the ozone, and even paint on cars is not warranted down there because it peels so quick. But they've got but growing Pinot Noir, and I've made it down there for a few vintages. Under a different brand of mine, but it was kind of a short stint, but for other reasons. But that would be where I would want to do my Pinot Noir, some Chardonnay, they do Pinot Gris, that kind of thing. But Pinot Noir from down there, I think, is magical as well. Nice. It's just beautiful. And talk about a wildscape of a place. Rushing rivers, mountains. It looks like you're making wine in Wyoming. If you could make wine, which people do make wine in Wyoming, but where it
turns out really good.
It turns out. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you.
I'll say it.
Thank you. Where it turns out. So that's that would be those two places. And then with Pinot Noir, of course, we can make sparkling wine. We can make rosé. We can have, of course, the red wine.
I think we need to take Napa wine on the road. Do you think we could ride it off, flights off to New Zealand?
You can't write off something you don't make money on.
I did our tax forms this year. I'm very aware.
You're not turning in receipts or anything? Where's this microphone come from?
We don't want to be too depressed.
Okay. Well, let's not go down that.
We did turn the receipt to the microphone. That was the problem.
You guys want to try another one?
Well, yes. So what would you...
After that, I think we need it.
Ready for another
last
social
pairing question? What would you pair with the flourless chocolate cake from Cook, which we also had for dinner tonight, which is awesome?
Do we have time for one wine in between?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's see it.
So I want to see what you guys think of this. Okay. This particular wine, I have a lot of gratitude toward. And I want to see what you think. This is the story behind this has to do with this wine and the next one.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Okay. In 2010, okay, this is what we're trying right now is a Frazier winery. They're no longer in business, but Frazier winery, 2010.
Ooh.
That smells wonderful.
That is exquisite.
Let it open up. Good. Let it open up. Yeah, it's got savory earth.
Definitely deep, dark.
This is
dark fruits.
This today is the site of the brand. It's escaping me right now. Steve Reynolds helped them. It's they were in the Psalm movie.
Ooh.
That was
Where's that?
I should have studied that. It's in Coombsville.
Realm?
No, it's not Realm, but it's in Coombsville, and it'll pop into
Caves.
It'll pop into my.
I think of it.
Anyway,
cool.
Sorry, you guys, everybody listening. That's terrible.
But go watch Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix. It's one of the Psalm movies, and Julian Fard was in there, and Steve Reynolds, my friend. But both those guys are my buddies. The reason I'm grateful for this one, and this is a story where Bill Frazier was ready to kind of get out of the wine business, and I'll say this in the best way I can. Things you sometimes get a little down on your luck with other things that are outside of the the wine realm, you know, and so it for him got a little difficult to, you know, make all the ends meet. This is a very cash intensive industry. Okay. So one of the first things that were cut out of our winemaking budget while I was consulting winemaking for him was our use of ETS labs.
Oof.
Okay. So
Harsh.
what, you know, in this era, we've become so used to technology, and you know, we could run to the lab with any question. We want to understand what's going on in this wine or this juice or what have you. This one was made all by feel.
Wow.
You know, from using only a refractometer and a hydrometer. We didn't even have yeast. Okay, so I mean, like lab supplies, you know, analysis was all cut from our budget, and it was the last year that we were making wine for Bill, and he was ready to wind up. And so I'm very, very grateful to this because everything was done by touch and feel. So from the, which doesn't sound that difficult to many people, but if you talk to a lot of winemakers who depend upon the the use of lab analysis to help make their winemaking decisions, which we all do. It's a very common practice. We send a juice panel in and we get our analysis, and we know kind of the feeding regime of what we've got to work with and where our potential alcohols may lay. There was none of that. So it was all just based on pick and feel all the way through to fruition. And this, so I'm very grateful because this is the only kind of the flying blind by without any use of tech. You know, all wild yeast.
Wow.
There was never an alcohol analysis until bottling. You know, but these wines I think turned out great.
Again, flawless. It's really
thank you.
That's what you worry about if you don't have those panels. You don't know you could have a flaw in there you just don't know about. But that is perfect.
I think it was our best year, and of while I was working with him, it was a great vintage overall. You know, in 2009 we had rain about the 12th of October. In 2010 it came around the 28th of October, or 20. I'm sorry, it was the 9th of October and the 19th of October, something like that. But this was a very slow ripening vineyard. Just we brought the fruit in right before the rains. We got another like 5 inches, kind of like what happened in 21, October the 19th. It just dumped a foot, but we got half of that. But once something like that happens, consider the vintage fairly over. Your vineyard is done. It should come off. But no, I'm proud of this one. I think and I have. This is another tip the hat to somebody that kind of pushed some limits on what you as a person make have happen.
Cool.
So you've given up your labs now and all your wineries.
I haven't done that because in a typical year you're very appreciative of the hard work that the people at ETS do, or at my enologist. We use them all. You're very appreciative of that, and that information does definitely contribute to a fine product of wine, especially if we run into some issues in fermentation or aging that we need to resolve. So,
well, nicely done. That's cool.
Yeah. Now your question. Okay, so that's to Bill Frazier. Now, in 2008, I started working with him in 2008, and in 10, it was a short stint, you guys. But in 2008, he wanted to make something else. Okay, let's taste this. So. Go ahead and clean out your smaller glass, you guys, that we used for the white. Okay, so
and this is what pairs best with a chocolate flourless cake from Cook, right?
From Cook, yeah, our friend Jude Wormuth. Yeah, this is what pairs best.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to try this before we go into. This is another one.
I was gonna say, I can tell from the bottle size that this is definitely a dessert wine.
Everyone listening, and this is bagged. It's I concealed this one like I did the 15 vintage wines. So, all right. So give Hillary. I brought this for you, Hillary.
This is my kind of thing.
Okay,
I'm all
good.
about the dessert.
This is the yumminess right here.
I'm all about the yummy.
I love dessert wines that are not cough syrupy, and this is not that at all. It's beautiful. It's really nice.
I am making
it is
a
not
disaster
like
tonight.
over the top. It's just taste of fruit, a little bit of hint of sweetness, but beautiful.
Well, and as things were tapering off at Frazier, Bill came to me and said, "Listen, Kirk, we're gonna close this up. I am gonna have a hard time paying you for a couple of months, for the last half a year, let's say." So but I'm in it for the winemaking before anything else. But that certainly isn't a great business model. So I said, "Bill, listen, you've got something that I would love," and we did other trades as well. This isn't where it ended, but we had made 2 barrels of this, you guys. This is a 2008.
That's cool.
2008 vintage port. It was from
It's
Petit Syrah port from Moss Creek Vineyard, which I had already a great history with out in Capel Valley. Beautiful grapevines from the right thing growing on the right site. And then we fortified it with St. George spirits, and I've been patient with it ever since. And so I bottled it as a kind of a 12-year tawny. And I have still the other barrel left, and I'll bottle that up after 18-year tawny. After an 18-year.
How do you get this?
I know the proper thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I know the proper thing for this is you're only supposed to do small pours with dessert. I'm trying to do a full Cabernet glass of this.
Yeah.
This is
my sweet tooth. I'd rather have this for dessert than a big dessert.
Try this now. This is where the magic happens.
With the cake.
The pairing. This is the pairing.
Here we go.
This is
everybody, here we go.
Like a beautiful relationship starting to bud.
This is my favorite relationship, is cake and wine.
Okay, so this is your happy place.
This is where I just soar and feel at home.
All right, everybody, dig in.
I love how you said that. Okay, so Hillary, you be the first.
Okay,
give it a
happily.
try. Okay, so flourless chocolate cake from Cook with 12-year tawny.
Okay.
Oof. Can't beat it.
And it's gonna work.
It works.
I think it's gonna work.
It definitely works. Oh.
Sorry, our listeners can only experience this in one sense.
With my sound effects.
And from another great vintage, 2008 was a small vintage. Came off early. It was warm, and I made.
That's cool. That's beautiful.
2 barrels of this for.
And then you get the sea salt at the end, and it's the perfect little.
Perfect finish.
Oh, this is great. This is my happy place.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Awesome.
I know.
Man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kirk. Well done.
Thank you. My pleasure. It's things like this. So these are the bookends. So this shows from Sauvignon Blanc to Cabernet Frazier to port. It's fun making wine and trying things and doing. Between the Venge and Croix products, we have 25 different SKUs of everything. Almost everything imaginable now. I mean, with this, I also do late harvest Zin, Zinfandel, Syrah. It's we try to sparkling wine. No, but I'm doing one for Tres Perlas and B Cellars. That's coming up. So, but I worked at Mum Winery and Hugh Davies. Coming back to Hugh, who was one of my mentors in college. I helped him with his college thesis program, and of course it was based on champagne or sparkling winemaking. And, Hugh was a huge leg up because I got that job that he had as an intern at Mum, and I held that for 5 summers, even after graduating. I went Davis for 4 years, got out, but even after that summer, went back to Mum. And that was working for Greg Fowler and Rob McNeil. That was some of the best times of my life. We just learned. I learned so much with those guys.
Do you think it's hard now for the new folks coming out of Davis to get their start in Napa?
Not
what do you
so
think?
much, because look, we're having a hard time getting enough people to intern.
Really?
We really are. It's a struggle to sometimes get enough staff, and especially staff that sticks around. You could hire, right now, we're putting feelers out. People will inquire and they'll say, yeah, we're gung-ho. And then, it might be 2 weeks, out of the gate that, they jump ship for what might seem like a better opportunity at one of the wineries, that I consult at, or Venge even, it's happened, So I feel like we're somewhat, fortunate. We've got nice wines. We make a nice variety of wines. It's a premium product here in Napa Valley that anyone that comes to work for a summer will be real proud of that experience. And I'm there to share everything that I know. I think there's nothing greater than to try to help people, get up the ladder in this business. But and stay out of the police logs.
Well, speaking of which, should we close it out with
We should, but I feel like all these people that are on Nextdoor too much and like people in the community, I would love to do an internship for the summer. Wouldn't that be fun?
I'm sure you know the right guy now.
I may not have enough time to offer you. I think I have Saturdays from like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is my only availability.
And she'll spend that
We
drinking.
love that. You could get the tank inoculation job.
Is that what you cleared out?
You're the scientist. No, that's the kickstart. To
okay. So I upgraded already.
You've already started at the top.
Drop this into the tank till you're done. Go away.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the most important jobs in the.
There we go. I mean, but how
cellar.
cool to just learn. Maybe that's the nerd of me coming out. But anyway.
Well, yeah, but you have a science background. I mean,
do.
you're quite adept to the winemaking world.
I get a little bit of it. I mean, not at work, but I mean, I understand, I did all the organic chemistry and all of that. And
But you look at the doctors that are in the wine industry, like Dr. Pride, Larry Turley.
There's that similar
Steve
passion.
Reynolds was a dentist back in the day, and have turned Ravana, have turned to winemaking.
Maybe this is your future calling.
Maybe I need.
And the list goes on.
Will Hugh take me on? I'd be all about the bubbles.
I'm sure it would. That's pink bubbles would be Hillary's wine of choice.
Okay.
Anybody have a good last one to close it out with?
I have
From 2008. How about one of those?
Here I
those
have them
oldies,
right here.
but goodies. 2008. We're drinking the 2008 right now.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Cool.
Here, I'll pass it on. Do you want to read one?
I had one. I promised never. I love diving, scuba diving, abalone diving. But like we were talking, I never go fishing for sharks. So I'll never read the DUI blogs, and I fortunately never had one. I've never been shark attacked either. It's just you don't want to provoke, tempt fate like that at all. But stay clean, everybody. But this one is female called. This is in 2008. Female called. Made a report. This is a blurry printout everywhere. It's not me right now. It reports a male parked at a driveway refusing to leave. Officer responding. Female called back to cancel and said subject has just left. Well, that sounds like a lot of us in high school getting dumped right there.
I was just gonna say, I feel like maybe she just invited him in. You know what? Dating a Saline is rough. You don't look that bad. Come on in.
Okay, now you gotta leave.
This could have been any of us in high school. Here in this sleepy town. It's I think my graduating class was 91 people, something like that.
I think I was 120.
Oh, you were? You were a
120.
bumper crop.
What can I say?
You were a big year.
We went for it.
No,
Do you remember what you were?
I don't have no idea.
Good
110
sense.
I was no clue. But I do have a clue about a February 14th Valentine's Day love affair here on Monday of this month. This year. 11:19, report of two people about to get into a fight in the middle of Church Street. The caller said they tried to ram each other's vehicles at one point, but they left before police arrived.
I like to think
that would be good.
they made up and they went and had lunch.
I'm sure they went to cook and had a
They might have made up.
I think they made up,
Chocolate
and
cake.
I think then they went to the Catholic Church later that day and got married.
Church Street is not where the Catholic Church is.
I know, but they ventured. Okay, stay with the plot.
Okay, fair enough, Hillary.
It's Valentine's Day. Let me have my one moment
Have your
of
moment.
unrealistic cheese, and that's all.
Speaking of unrealistic cheese,
That was not a segue that was going. But I appreciate the effort. Why don't we just find out where we can get this delicious wine? and if we want to come taste,
Yeah.
all that, fill us all in.
I'll tell everybody right now. It's so Venge Vineyards is on Silverado Trail, just south of the town of Calistoga. So if anyone's been to Solage on the Silverado Trail, we're in the neighborhood of Clopagas and Sterling, Pfeiffer Pavitt, and just against the kind of the northeast side of Silverado Trail there. And yeah, our phone number is 707-942-9100 or vengevineyards.com to have a look. And then for Croix Estate wines over there, we are at croixestate.com as well. And that's right in Fulton, so in the kind of the east side of the Russian River Valley, not far from Martinelli or Gamba, those two wineries as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
so
talk about-
welcome everybody. It's by appointment, so please call.
An awesome lineup. I mean, we got treated to
We
some
got
really
spoiled.
beautiful wines. So thanks, Kirk. This was a lot of fun.
My pleasure.
Encourage
Yeah.
anyone to get out there and try these amazing wines that he makes.
Yeah,
This has been fun,
absolutely.
you guys.
All right.
This has been great.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody. Nice to see you
Yay.
guys.
Well, that was wonderful.
We're 5 bottles in, and I feel great.
Any evening that ends with port and other wine before it, I feel like I'm thriving.
Very much so. And we thrived tonight with Kirk Venge. What a selection of amazing wine. Little bit of a difficult blind tasting for the two of us.
Yeah, we did not thrive.
We didn't thrive
We
during that,
survived, but we did not thrive.
but we learned a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
And just a reminder to all our guests to follow us and subscribe on Instagram. Please rate us 5 stars. If you're not going to rate 5 stars, just don't bother rating. But also follow us on Instagram.
There you go. We're at 10,000 downloads.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
You enjoy your evening and be safe.